Genusee, we were in business for 4 years, but it was one idea that I had of, okay, how do we use this plastic to turn it into a product where made from recycled plastic water bottles and sold direct to consumer. Launched that through a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter and sold a lot of glasses, but scaled that business to 7 figures in 4 years. We were very grassroots about all of our marketing. You either love us or you hate us.
Hot take city. Alex Earle versus Alex Cooper. Lots of hot takes and things going on with that.
Let's talk about Alex Earle and all of the speculation that she's dropping a alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
Hey friends, welcome to Above the Fold podcast. I'm your host, Jess Servion. We're going to be talking about everything in your customer's journey. You're going to learn things about customer experience, brand experience, and marketing secrets that help you drive your brand success. So stay tuned, buckle up, and let's get into the episode.
Hey collective, I am Jess, your host, and this week I have my good friend in Chicago. First of all, let me just make that known. We are in Chicago. My good friend Ali Rose VanOverbeke.
Back. Oh, it's okay. It took me till I was in 2nd grade to
live show
spell the last name.
I mean, my last name is Servion. Yeah. Most people say Curvilon. Okay, it's a thing. Anyway, Ali is here to join me because today she has a really amazing background, and I'm going to let her have the moment, talk about it. But I mean, she's in sustainability. She's been in fashion. She was a previous founder, all sorts of things. Why don't you just lay the land?
Oh my gosh. It's a little awkward.
I know.
It's a totally non-linear journey. I mean, Jess, you know the story, but born and raised in Michigan, Metro Detroit area. So Midwestern soul. I knew since a very young age, 2nd grade, that I wanted to be a fashion designer, specifically that I wanted to go to Parsons in New York, which is kind of weird for a 2nd, 3rd grader to know which college they want to go to.
Yeah.
I remember looking it up on AOL, fashion schools, and it was Parsons.
We're at that age.
And then, yes, millennials. And then I learned about Tracy Reese, who is a fashion designer, and Anna Sui, both from Detroit. Iconic. When I learned that they went to Parsons, I'm like, that's where I'm going. And I did. That's where I went. I feel very lucky that I get to say I've totally lived my childhood dream.
Yeah.
But it's one of those stories of okay, you live your dream and then what? Because I was in New York, went to Parsons, was working in the fashion industry, had a really fun early career, I would say, even during college, that's the great thing about being in New York for school or any big city. The opportunities that are available to you are they don't happen everywhere. So I was styling, doing assisting styling for editorial shoots with celebrity talent, the cover of Glamour magazine, September issues of Elle, huge advertising campaigns with, Revlon and, paying the bills during college through just doing assisting as a stylist, worked in the industry as a designer, more mass market. But I was working for $1 billion large brand.
Yeah.
And, as a creative, you kind of go into the world so naive to the reality of then working in that industry. Started working as a designer at actually Lane Bryant.
Oh, cool.
Which was great.
Well, you learn, working on Lane Bryant, you learn so much about size inclusivity.
It was, and I was on a small team, so I was one of 2 team members. My VP, her name was Tess Giberson. She was a badass designer as well, but we led up their emerging businesses category. So we were doing this kind of small capsule collection within Lane Bryant that was geared towards millennials, trying to revamp the brand, but they were testing it in this small part of the business. So that started opening me up, not just as a designer, but more as a marketer, because we were in control of the social, the branding, who we were casting for, the shoots. And we're finding, what is now influencer talent on socials.
What year was this?
This was 2015.
Yeah, which is so interesting because we look at marketers today and how much, this is how the conversations go, right? We're going to move around a lot. But we look at today, 2025, and how marketing and affiliate marketing is such like a big thing. But when we were coming up and like our careers, it wasn't a big thing.
No.
I mean, when did Instagram start? 2012? No, maybe like 2010?
It was earlier, 2011. I mean, we have our computers in.
Yeah.
2010.
2010. Okay, so in 2010, Instagram started. I actually remember posting my first Instagram. I was in New York City, but like who knew? I remember the whole gamut of Instagram, and it was like about getting likes and hashtagging and all of those things.
And it was just your friends.
It's just my
You
friends.
were posting weird stuff back
Yeah.
then.
Weird ass filters, like like I look back on my 2010 Instagram and I'm like, wow.
It's all hidden. It's all
Yeah,
archived.
mine's not. Authenticity, Ali.
Yeah.
Okay. We will show up. Okay. But anyway, my point is like, it's so interesting that you were like worked in like that beginning stages, and like even in 2015, like influencer marketing and affiliate marketing wasn't like what it is
No.
today.
No. And we see like entire personalities who've like made their career as
Yeah.
creators, as influencers, especially like that space I was in, like working with, plus size models. Like that was a whole new like niche, like segment. So that was like my first, I would say, opening like non-traditionally to like what it is to be a marketer. Like I was doing marketing as a designer, but I didn't really know it was marketing.
Yeah.
It just kind of came, as a designer, like in fashion school, you learn to really build these like brand worlds. That's what being like a fashion designer, creative director really is about like cultivating these brand worlds and the extension of the clothes.
Yeah.
And that's marketing.
Absolutely. But do you think that in today's world, like, and this is going to be a fucking hot take, my friend,
Oh boy.
but do you think that in today's world that creative direction is dead in e-commerce marketing?
Oh man.
I think
Is it dead from as like a job and like a requirement, or is it dead as people just don't care anymore? And it's
I think
more
people don't
product-led?
care as much. And it makes me so sad, like, because like we have a similar background. Like I don't have as extensive view. I went down like a customer experience, consumer marketing, like, and then, worked at a lot of tech, but I also went to fashion school, and I am so grateful for going to art school because I feel like in the business world, like I think outside of the box. I think more creatively. I mean, like we were talking about it before we went on air, like the things that I went to and like had to learn, and I'm sure the same thing with you, is art history. Why we painted it a certain way, why we have like looking at architecture and structure, and like and then also even just like fashion design, like sourcing, putting it together, like creating the branding worlds, merchandising it, right? It's just so, and what's so interesting is today, and this is a hot take and I apologize, but like I look at so many e-commerce marketing today, and we talk about performance ads, and we talk about this, and we talk about this, and it's so about getting revenue. But I think we forget
The creativity.
because the creativity is what drives your consumer even wanting you. Like at the branding part of it, right? Like, so there are brand marketers out there. There's people who are brand managers, but the brand manager role
that doesn't mean though that they're even a good like creative director.
Yes.
Or that the brand itself has good creative direction.
Yeah. I also think brand manager roles, this is another hot take, brand manager roles are very convoluted. I've seen brand manager roles be like, have them in their brand, but they don't actually know what they are, like what that role really means. And so then they're working on influencer marketing, or they're working on emails.
Or it's a catch-all. It's just a catch-all for, these areas of marketing that are not performance, and we just need someone to kind of own and do the bare minimum. But in terms of is creative kind of dead in this like e-com D2C world, I think we're seeing that a bit. Definitely. There's been like this huge drive like towards like performance. And I feel like a lot of brands, first off, like the point of entry for a brand to launch now is easier than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can do
probably
it,
why
right?
I'm so ballsy and going to build
Exactly.
my brand.
Exactly. You have to do this though. This is but I think because the point of entry has become so much easier. You don't have to be a creative to necessarily, or have like a creative point of view. Some companies, maybe they are more like product led, ingredient led, function led, whatever that is, that just might not even be a part of their brand values. But I know like for us, we value like aesthetics and creativity.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good segue into you. And I know we like skipped around, absolutely, and we can come back. But I actually think that's a good segue of talking about how like you went into fashion and then you started Genusee.
Yeah. So was working my corporate job and, got totally just the veil was torn away from how unsustainable the fashion industry was. Not from even just like a sustainability perspective, but just how outdated the business model is when you're working. I mean, it's like this in e-com and D2C now. Like I see this a lot, but the business model itself of like having to carry so much inventory that we know we're not going to sell through, that we're going to have to discount at the end of the season, that is going to end up in landfill. I was like, I did not go to business school. I'm like, but this just does not make sense to me. I feel like every day I was going to work and being a part of a problem, and I wanted to be like a part of the solution in some way. Ended up, doing the whole Eat, Love, Pray thing in India, volunteered with girl.
I do.
Every millennial woman has to do the Eat, Love, Pray thing. No judgment. We listen and we don't judge.
I'm not judging at all because I'm like, me too. But I only went to India for 96 hours.
That maybe was a smart idea.
Yeah, fair. Anyway, sorry.
But I worked with a social enterprise there, and that was my first time being in that kind of environment. They were an organization. They were retraining women who were in domestically abusive relationships with sewing skills.
Yeah.
And creating products that were actually being sold at like Anthropology and stuff.
Wow.
And that just kind of opened my eyes. I'm like, wow, like I could do this in fashion, or I could find maybe there's a business out there like this in fashion that I could work for and feel like my work was a bit more meaningful. But that wasn't the plan for my life. I ended up volunteering in Flint shortly after that during the water crisis. I grew up in Michigan. Flint's about an hour away from where I grew up, and I saw like all the plastic water bottles that were a result of this man-made water crisis. And as a designer, it just like sparked an idea for me. Like we have crazy ideas all of the time. Like if you're a creative person, you've got like 50 ideas a day. But it was one idea that I had of, okay, how do we use this plastic to turn it into a product that we could then train people in Flint to make and create jobs in the community? And I'm like, I have to do this. I don't know how to solve a water crisis, but I'm a designer. Like I know how to make stuff. I know how to make a, market ready product. I know how to brand stuff. And I felt like that's how I could use the skill set that I had to make impact, and ended up back in New York. I did 2 accelerator programs there because it's like I didn't go to business school. I went to fashion school. Like I have a lot to learn. Like if I'm going to start a business, like I have a lot to learn and really quick. So I did 2 accelerator programs. One was called XRC Labs, which I'm pretty sure still exists today. And it's through like the new school. And then with CFDA Fashion, Council of Fashion Designers of America, they had a program called Elaine Gold Launchpad, which was specifically focused on accessories. Yeah. And through that, we received business mentorship, grant funding. And that was like a 9-week program. And I went in with simple like ideas on a Post-it note, literally, of like plastic water bottles into a product like made in Flint, and came out with an entire brand and product of eyewear made from recycled plastic water bottles within a 188-mile radius of Flint, Michigan, and sold direct to consumer. And launched that in 2018 through a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. Pre-sold like $75,000, left my corporate job in New York and moved to Flint, Michigan, and set up shop and made our first hires and sold a lot of glasses, but scaled that business to 7 figures in 4 years.
Yeah, which is really amazing and really awesome for you to take that dream and like go through these programs. I'm actually really interested. Like if one was looking to do an accelerator program, like what would you recommend to somebody?
Great question. First off, I mean, it depends at what stage in your business idea you're at. If you and how much I would say like business acumen that you have as an individual as well. But I'd be looking for something that is going to provide business mentorship, like one-on-one as well. That was part of the CFDA program I did that was probably most valuable to me. I'm not someone who necessarily learns, and it also depends how you learn. I don't necessarily learn by like sitting in a classroom. I learn through doing. And one of my mentors, his name is Jake Sargent. He's an investor in like the like D2C world, or was. Haven't talked to him in a while, but he's an amazing human. Hi, Jake. And he spent so much time with me, like building my first business model and just helping me, like empowering me to understand how to build my business through like sitting with me, giving me spreadsheets, giving me the tools. And that was so helpful outside of like all of the programming that you do. And then on top of it, there was grant money attached. Like, you know, that was huge. That was the startup capital that we needed to at least like prototype our initial ideas, because it's expensive.
I mean, I know.
You know. Now you know.
For samples over here. Okay, so take me through, I mean, the one thing, well, we're not going to get there yet. I want to talk about like prototyping, right? And you take this idea and then you take it to market and like, and you do the things, but how long were you in business for?
We were in Genusee. So Genusee, we were in business for 4 years, from 2018 to 2022. So the majority of that being during the pandemic. And let me paint like an even broader picture. So we're making eyewear from recycled materials in a supply chain in Flint, within like 188-mile radius of Flint, Michigan. So most eyewear and like most products are made overseas through existing supply chains with craftsmanship and like skilled hands that actually know how to make that product.
Oh, I know. Fun fact. I worked at an optical store after college. I've never told you that.
How did you never tell me that?
I worked at an optical store right after college. I was a personal assistant. I was terrible at this job, truthfully.
So that's
I was
why we've never
so bad at it. But I learned a lot about eyewear.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about eyewear and sizing of eyewear. So I agree with you on like the craftsmanship of like eyewear. So it's like, yeah, you can go to a Lens Crafters and you can go and get like your Ray-Bans or all these others, but like those are made from a big conglomerate called Luxottica, which the wholesale prices on those are just so astronomical. I mean, it's like 70-30, if not more, you know?
The markups in eyewear are
insane.
Should be illegal.
I know. But there is one brand that I am really obsessed with, and they're called Masunaga. It's a Japanese eyewear brand, but when you were talking about like the craftsmanship, they're made in Japan. And it's all made from, I forget the materials, but like very like not recycled, but like very
like bioacetate.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's very like hard, sturdy. I still have those pair of glasses. I graduated.
Let's talk about, okay,
15
for
years
instance,
ago.
eyewear, like as a category. So Warby, and you talk about like you've worked in optical, like think of going to like a Lens Crafters, like not to call anyone out, but I always hated as a consumer going to get, I have horrible vision, have always had to wear glasses or corrective, you know, contacts. It is a horrible buying experience.
Yeah.
It is like going to the used car salesman.
Yeah.
And I always feel like I'm getting like upsold on things I don't really need. You walk out with like a $700, $800 bill.
You're like blue light.
What did I just buy? There's like no price transparency, nothing.
Yeah.
And then we see, you know, Warby launched, you know, during the height of the like D2C.
Yeah.
And totally changed the even in-person experience. That's what I think Warby has done the best of.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's changed the D2C experience, the in-person experience, the brand experience, the like all of it. Like I feel honestly, even today, even though I know enough about optical, like and I know about sizing and all of those like things, and like I kind of could go online and like buy from like a Zenni or something. I choose to go to Warby because of the experience that I have. Like I go in there and I'm like, meeting with like experts, or I can also get an eye exam and pick out my glasses like in the moment. And the other thing, it's accessible. Like the pricing is accessible.
And the app. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've used the
Oh,
app.
no.
That has been another reason why it's super easy to schedule in person. There's complete like transparency in your, customer
Yeah.
information. A lot of optical places used to like withhold your prescription from you, or you'd have to call and
I
like jump through
know.
hoops. Warby, it's like it's right there. It's on the app. You can now they have even you can't get like a new prescription
Right.
through the online vision test, but they can confirm an existing prescription.
Yeah.
So they've
That's
like
interesting.
they've taken out so many of the pain points.
Yeah. Very technical. But there's a new eyewear. I wouldn't say new. It's been around for a bit. I don't know much about it. I just know people that work there. Pair eyewear.
Yeah.
And those are like clip-on,
Yeah.
which are fun and fashionable for the maximalist,
I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel
Uh,
about it, but they're doing really well.
They're doing really
They're
well.
crushing.
Yeah, they're crushing. But I think what's interesting though is like Warby has changed this experience, and now we have Pair Eyewear who is coming onto the market and again creating accessibility, creating like making it a fashionable item,
Yep.
and like in being able to like clip on
And
clip
giving you
off.
more bang for your buck. Like as
Yeah.
a customer, you're just popping on different colors to like an existing frame or like the sun option.
Yeah.
So you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah. I know. But then there's Zenny Optical. Who like it's very cheap.
The fast fashion.
The fast fashion. They're the Shein. Wait, is it Shein or Shein? Shein.
No,
Nobody knows. And like that's why I can never say it right. There's some things in this world I can't.
Shein. I say
Shein. Yeah. Okay, well, we're just gonna go with Shein. They're the Shein of optical.
It's bad.
I know. Okay, let's go back to Genusee. So, all right. I think what you created, like in your career, in your journey, right? Like you go through fashion and you're working in these like big corporate fashion houses. And then you go and you see an issue and you create a product out of it, right? I'd love for you to talk about, you don't have to go deep
Yeah.
into it, but like, at what point did you decide that it was time to close?
So the majority of our life as a company was during pandemic days,
Mhm.
which was for both better and worse.
Mhm.
Obviously, everyone knows like the large like macroeconomic challenges during the pandemic, but I can speak to how it affected us as at that stage, very early stage, small business startup, and why I feel like so passionate about supporting entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
like startups, like small businesses. And your dollars matter, like where you spend them.
Yeah.
So we definitely saw a bump during, the initial part of the pandemic when everyone was like, support small businesses, like shop local. Like everyone saw, that bump during the pandemic. And then during that same period of time, like anyone who's been in like the e-com, like marketing space knows the iOS changes happened.
Mhm.
Your customer acquisition costs like doubled, if not tripled,
Yeah.
in a very short period of time. And then at the same time for us, we talked about eyewear. It's a very international supply chain, the majority of that being in like China, Italy, Japan, and lenses specifically, which was a part of what we offered, became extremely expensive. And at that same time, there was a big push we were not just a sustainable company, but had a lot of really strong social values and always said like, our goal is to be paying a living wage to the people that we're hiring who are making our frames in-house. We had like small batch manufacturing and we had trained folks to do that. So at the same time, CAC goes up, labor costs go up intentionally. We chose to invest in our labor force and pay like well above the like minimum wage.
Yeah.
And lens costs just went through the freaking roof. And even the labor on the lens side just shot up. They were going through the same challenges. And typically, right, how would you balance cost increasing? You would raise retail prices. Well, we were a product made from recycled plastic bottles. There's kind of a cap there in terms of what a consumer is willing to pay for a product made from recycled plastic bottles, right? although there was so much craft that went into our product, it's not like this premium, the perception, right? The craft and the labor and the time that went into it was premium, but like the perception and the value perception from the customer made it really challenging. We did a lot of like price sensitivity, like testing to try to increase our prices, but it wasn't enough to really offset the increase in cost that we were experiencing and the crazy increase in like CAC.
Well, how did you go about telling that story from like a brand perspective, right?
We had built like truly, we were very grassroots about all of our marketing, very like socially, like politically driven. Like we took kind of like that Patagonia route of like, hey, we're going to take a stance and we're going to be really like bold and loud about it. And you either love us or you hate us. And, you know, our team was all very aligned with that and felt fine. So we, from the very start, were incredibly just transparent about our labor practices, our sustainability practices, where we were sourcing things, how much stuff costs. That just was baked into the DNA of like our brand values. So as we were experiencing challenges throughout the pandemic, as many businesses were, we were just very transparent throughout our marketing, like all of our comms with our customers. And it was really well received.
Yeah. Well, I know we talk about authenticity, and it is really much a buzzword in the last like 2 years, right? Even as we talk about like online marketing, social, I know I'm like online marketing, but like social creatives, like ads, like all of those pieces, right? But I think what's so interesting is that when you're authentic, it's like, at what cost do you become authentic as a business?
It was one of my huge, as an entrepreneur or like a startup founder, I believe, like I went into it with a thesis, right? We had raised funding and had investors and everything. Didn't raise crazy amounts of money, but, raised small rounds early on. But I went into it with a thesis of, we can make a sustainable product. We can manufacture it sustainably, locally, pay a living wage, hire, returning citizens. I built this perfect, like socially,
because you believed in it. I believed in it.
And that was, I went in with this thesis that we could do it and keep the product affordable. Because I had the whole, mentality of the people who are making our glasses should be able to also afford to buy our glasses. And we hit a wall when we saw all like those price increases and like CAC going like through the roof. The unit economics just didn't make sense anymore. And the financials did not make sense. And I went in with a thesis and I was proven wrong. And I think it takes a lot of, we could have obviously raised a ton more like venture money, which was at one point trying to do to like throw growth capital on to help get us to like, the next stage of business. It was really hard to raise during that same period. It was like all the headwinds were like hitting us at the same time. Not only was it really hard to raise, it became really hard for consumer and like D2C to raise because we've seen so many shifts in that model, like not working how it used to because of the expense of, how ad costs have just gone up so much. The early D2C brands in that model was built, and a lot of companies are killing it with performance right now, but like they built the unit economics to make sense from the start. For us, we just bit off way more than we should have. And if I would do it again, I would have been much more conservative with which areas of impact we were going to prioritize. And first and foremost, making sure the unit economics made sense and that it was like a financially sound business that we could scale. And then as we hit like new levels of growth, adding in those areas of impact. And that's really hard for me to swallow and to like admit as someone who is so like values driven.
But like you live and you learn.
But I'm also a capitalist.
Sadly, we're all a fucking capitalist. Truthfully, we're capitalists with values, though. We have values. But I think I think it's inspiring, first and foremost. I mean, just I do a lot of stories about brand building, right? And it's like all the success and all these things, but they're in that moment. But we never talk about what happens when maybe you do it all, but it just wasn't right,
Yep.
And I think that, and even just taking out the values pieces of it, let's just talk about the marketing pieces, right? Like when you walk into building your brand in the beginning, yes, of course, acquiring the customer is so important. Yes, of course, revenue is so important. But a lot of times what happens is get the customer, do the things, and then you forget about the retention. You forget about the life cycle of the customer. And so I think that for you were growing,
Learning through doing,
but you also were retaining too. We didn't really get to talk about that, but you had a very loyal customer base.
We really
even when you were closing down, people were sad.
I still have people to this day, at least once a week, someone is in my DMs like, hey, do you have any extra Genusee glasses that I can buy from you? And I'm like, I really wish I did, but I don't. Look on eBay, look on Poshmark.
Yeah.
And that feels good. As a brand builder, it's this special community that we built around this product that represented so much more than just the product. And that feels special. And look, there was a point where I started sourcing from factories in Italy that were potentially able to use recycled plastic to make eyewear, and we're using other more sustainable materials. I started talking with manufacturers overseas. We could have pivoted that way. I'm like, we're going to lose. None of our customers are going to stick with us. They're going to be like, this company was so fake.
Yeah.
And they spouted this whole made in Flint story, blah, blah, blah. And then they pivot and go do the same thing that every other company is doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I would rather close the business down with integrity and say, you know what, here is this beautiful, pure thing that we built.
Yeah.
And I feel good about it.
Yeah, but I think that's amazing. I truly think that's amazing because I think a lot of times, and listen, I'm only in the beginning stages of my founder journey. Who knows, right? Who knows if my brand.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, I'm going to learn a lot of things, y'all. So if anybody of y'all have advice out there, I'm in formulation right now. And let me tell you,
in the comments.
The taste testing on my first formula, wow. Okay. Didn't smell right. I was like, oh God, we're going to taste this. Right. But point is though, okay, so, it's really interesting. So I've shared with you and a few others, my brand and all of these things that we're formulating and stuff. But I keep having to tell myself that opinions matter, but I also have to make sure the opinions are right because I'm trying to build something that's so different. I don't want to give out all the secrets because, I'm trying to hold it close to the chest a little bit longer. But what I'm building is very maximalist in a very minimalist world.
It's you.
Yeah. But okay, sorry. Now we're all over the place. You know what's interesting? I saw a report today. I might have sent it to you. Marketing is actually changing to maximalism.
Yeah. The pendulum always swings.
Yeah.
We went through that minimalist, bland.
We're sitting in a very we're sitting in a very clean room,
The pendulum swings. It's like that with art, with fashion, with anything trend related.
Yeah.
Just I feel now more than ever because of digital and we live our lives online, the pendulum's swinging even further.
Yeah.
But for you, Jess, you're building something that isn't trendy maximalist. It's authentic to the brand and the vision that you have. So regardless of where the pendulum swings in the next, we're gonna swing back to minimalism. It's just an infinite cycle.
But I think, okay, so going back to your story though, right? That is inspiring. It's inspiring to me as a brand builder, and hopefully anybody listening in too, because you're going against the grain. You can go and put out a product on the market and be like everybody else, right? But it's exactly what you were talking about you can go and do everything else, the same manufacturers, the same things. But if you don't stick to your values of like what that product is and why you built it, what do you really have? Then you just become money at that point.
And sometimes that's the kind of business that someone wants to build, and no judgment. Like, do it. Like, get the bag. I think at this stage in my life and career, I am in a really different place. Like, I probably wouldn't, as I mentioned, start a business that was so intensely like values driven without making sure first like the unit economics made sense and that it was scalable. Because if you truly want to make impact, right? Sustainability, environmentally, socially, if you just want to make impact by like inspiring people and like bringing beauty into the world, you need to scale.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Like, you got to be big.
When we
like,
both said we're capitalists, I mean, like at the end of the day, it's like money literally makes the world go round, But it's like, how can you, I don't know where like this part of it is going, but it's just like, how can you build a brand and still stay true to yourself and true to like your original like values? Because I see a lot of brands that like, or say like, I'm this value, I'm doing this thing. And then they go into like change an ingredient in their product. Right. And then like, you're not what
and then
you
you
said.
lose a lot of trust. Or here's the thing, like, if you're going to change, if you come out as a brand that's all about like transparency and, product quality and ingredient quality, if you need to make a change because of the unit economics or because of changes to sourcing, be transparent about it. Explain a little bit to the customer. I mean, I don't know, not every brand like wants to be that transparent, but
for sure.
People, I think you're gonna get dinged more if you do it like on the sly and try to be like sneaky about it.
Yeah, because then when people find out, you lose that customer trust, and then as soon as you lose that trust, it's like it's really hard to like talk about rising CAC. You're gonna have to go out there and like put out your performance marketing and like to the max, right? To like acquire newer customers.
And then what's the quality of that customer, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing is like, that's the other piece of it too. When you talk about like, just not necessarily even just value driven brands, but thinking about what your brand stands for and why you've created your brand in the first place. It could be anything, right? It could be like this microphone, right? But like, thinking about how you like brand your business in design, in positioning and messaging and all these things, those are so important because it is going to attract the right customer. Like, you can attract a customer who, I can say like this microphone, granted it's a Shure, but like maybe it's like a knockoff Shure, right? And like you can say, oh, I'm better than this one, right? And I do these other features, but then you break in the next day, right? And then you've acquired like a very cheap customer who's like may not return to you,
Definitely not.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Okay. Well, before we get into the fun stuff, we still have to talk about Kadeya.
Okay.
So, Genusee, take a break from brand building after Genusee. Tell me about the rest of your journey. Like, how did you end up at Kadeya? And tell me what Kadeya is, because I've been waiting to take a sip of this water.
Wait, your first sips of Kadeya. I love it.
Well, tell them what Kadeya is first.
So for starters, Kadeya, we're not a water bottle company. We're not a beverage company. So I left, obviously I care about plastic waste. And when I closed down Genusee, I moved here to Chicago and reconnected with actually one of my former investors from Genusee days. And her name is Manuela Zonensign. She started a company called Kadeya that builds closed loop vending stations that will dispense water as well as flavored and branded products. So imagine Coke, Pepsi, Keurig Dr. Pepper, Gatorade, like anything branded that you could typically get in a soda fountain comes in a reusable stainless steel container. When you're done, you return the bottle to any station in the network. And then there's robotic autonomous technology inside that cleans, sanitizes, and refills this bottle. So it's completely closed loop, eliminates the need for single-use plastic, which is obviously something I cared about. But on the marketing side, the thing that I'm most currently excited about with Kadeya is the ability we're creating really unique data assets for like beverage retail. So typically, right, you go into a Walgreens and you grab a Diet Coke out of the convenience fridge. Coke doesn't know who you are as that consumer. They don't know when you're drinking that beverage. They know nothing about you, right?
Yeah.
So with Kadeya, there's a unique QR code on every bottle, and we're able to connect the packaged beverage with the consumer,
Cool.
creating a whole new unprecedented set of data insights for beverage companies.
Yeah.
That
That's
can,
awesome.
and then for us, like as the kiosk, right? It allows us to use AI to more personalize that experience for the customer.
Yeah.
In the future, we're working on like a web app. So from like a hydration standpoint, we can send you like personalized hydration reminders. It can integrate with like your health app, your fitness trackers, and be like, okay, we know that Jess just, worked out this morning. Hey girl, you need 2 bottles of water this morning, not just one. So that's what I'm like most from like a marketing standpoint, super excited about with Kadeya is like it's gonna transform like the future of just like packaged beverage retail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just sustainability,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's really, I love a QR usage and the personalization because I think that a lot of people think of QR codes as like just basic, like, oh, I'm going to scan it and there's going to be a link
Yep.
tree. I don't think about QR codes that same way. I think about like you can really personalize an experience. Like,
Or imagine, okay, your Pepsi, right? You can send that consumer who purchased this out of home
yeah,
on the go. You can send them to a landing page with a more personalized experience. Sell them D2C.
yeah. I know this. My friend owns this company. It's called Bridge.
Yeah.
Kate.
Yeah, I know her.
But yes, I mean, like, exactly. Like, even I've talked about this a lot, but even not in the same, like, just personalized one to you. But I've used QR codes at like Feastables. I advocated to put like, we used to only have like a QR code from that was like, I don't know, it wasn't a link tree. It was like something, right? Like something like just a random like web app, like of a literal link tree. And then I advocated to put like a Bridge QR code on the bars, and we were able to personalize the experiences even by country and by content. And like we've never done, well, I don't work there anymore, obviously, but we never got to like the shoppable experience too. But I'm really excited because Kate is going to be one of our sponsors for She Innovates.
Amazing.
And we're doing a shoppable activation at She Innovates because I want to like, for anybody who doesn't know, She Innovates is a women's conference that I put on. We're putting on our third one. Nicole Harvey, Dylan Deshay, and I are the founders of it.
The girls.
The girl gang. We're putting it on May 7th, but lots of information in the show notes. You'll see on LinkedIn, I promise you. Don't worry.
Don't miss it.
Content queen, okay? But we're also going to be, so Bridge is one of our sponsors, and then we're going to be utilizing those QR codes for the shoppable activation that we're doing. So it's really awesome from an experiential marketing event because we're going to have these women who are going to be selling their bags or doing this or doing that, or
What's
like
the next
they're
step?
beveraging, and then you can scan and you can make a purchase right in the store. Not even a Shopify POS.
We love it.
Bridge. Well, you still need Shopify. And that was not a dagger.
We love you, Shopify. You
Don't
power our lives.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing all of your journey. So I am leaving the last 15 minutes of this conversation to Hot Take City for Ali and I. So if you don't know this, Ali and I, we'll have to link this in the show notes, but we made a video called We're Marketers.
We're marketers.
And so it's a joke between us that we're marketers and we talk about all things marketing and make funnies.
Even as friends, even when we're just hanging out.
Literally.
Sadly.
I know.
Sad us.
But I really want to talk about like just like some fun marketing things that are going on. I know we're going to talk about Alex Earle versus Alex Cooper.
Okay.
Because lots of hot takes and things going on with that. So Alex Cooper just put out Unwell, her hydration company. We've had our moments about that one. But I listen, I actually love it. You know what's really funny? Let's talk about Alex Cooper's Unwell real quick before we go to Alex Earle, because we're gonna drop a hot take here that you don't even know about yet. But when Unwell came out, right? I do think it is a marketing masterclass. I still stand behind 100%. The content because 100%. As a woman who started in a podcast and she started all these other channels and created all of these content plays, built her audience, and then put out a product for her audience is beautiful. Chef's kiss. What's so interesting though is that when a woman puts out a hydration product, everybody and their mom wants to say some things about it, right? And I will never forget that, like, when it came out, there was a man, I don't remember who it was, but I saw a thread on LinkedIn, and it was saying something like, I don't understand why Alex Cooper put out this Unwell hydration drink. I never see women drinking hydration. And I'm like, excuse me? Women would like to be hydrated. Okay.
But maybe you never see women drinking hydration drinks because none of them have ever been designed
for a woman.
For women.
That exactly. But I mean, if I'm going to the gym, I'm going to pick up a Body Armor. I'm going to pick up actually my favorite, my Saludi Cuties, Taste Salud. They have a great hydration and immunity. And I actually utilize that for my hydration, right? But my point is, like, I drink hydration. I am a woman who uses hydration. Like, people are drinking Gatorades. You think Gatorades don't exist? You know? Anyway, but I do want to talk about how you feel about Alex Cooper's Unwell.
Okay, so for starters, Alex Cooper versus like Alex Earle.
Yeah.
I am a big believer. Like, there's so obviously, like, Alex Earle has like separated from like Unwell Network recently. Can we stop pitting women against each other?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's like there's so much like speculation and like drama about like what went down.
Yeah.
It was a business decision. Like, leave it at that. It drives me insane the way that there has to have been like some feud between like these two women. Like, no, they're both baddies. It was a business decision for whatever reason. We don't know what
a band can break up, y'all.
Totally. We don't know what the contracts were. And clearly, they're both crushing it.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's talk about Alex Earle and all of the speculation that this complete speculation that tomorrow she's dropping.
Yeah. Speculation.
This is all speculation, but tomorrow she's dropping a alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
Because she's been dropping Easter eggs all over social for the last, it's been like 2 or 3 weeks for her audience. And before we jump into maybe what that is and all of the marketing conversation around it, I think the separation between the two, like, I think Alex Earle knew she was going to be launching a product and realized, you know, no longer needed to separate that contract because who knows, maybe Unwell had some kind of like rev share or like ownership over any product she created. Who knows? But at the end of the day, like, there doesn't need to be beef. It was a business decision.
It's an absolute business decision. And I think that's fine. And I think like both of them in their own right have their own sort of fame, right? And at some point the bands break up, right? Think about, I'm just using this as a reference, but like, think about like girl groups, right? Like Spice Girls. We need Spice Girls again. But think about the Spice Girls, right? They've all separated. They've all done their own thing. So like, think about Alex Earle and Alex Cooper as the same type of, the same thing, right? It's like at some point you just go your separate ways.
And that's
okay. You also can make your own money. Right? And like, we don't know. There
doesn't have to be drama, but you know, the internet loves some controversy, loves.
Well, I think what's really interesting. So I do want to go to this though. Like, so Alex Earle, Alex Cooper drops hydration. Alex Earle is going to drop alcohol. Right. And you put in the stat when we were talking, like you had sent it to me, like the Gen Z thing.
Yeah.
Gen Z, according to a stat that Ali found, Gen Z is 86% less on alcohol than millennials.
Insane.
Which I absolutely believe.
Insane.
But I think that's really interesting. So do you think Earle's audience is more Gen Z or more millennial?
I think Earle's audience is more Gen Z. I think so. I think Earle is going to be launching a lot more than just this alcohol beverage. The woman's got a great career ahead of her. I think she's really smart. She's really savvy. She posted a video talking about this alcohol brand that she is going to be launching. So the brand actually existed for a while. They were struggling to find like product market fit. She's coming in as an investor and as the face of the brand. And it sounds like, you know, the way she was talking about it, she's helping with like revamping their go-to-market strategy and creative and social, you know, everything that's in her wheelhouse. Like she's getting more involved than just like an investor throwing a check. She's really kind of becoming what seems like a little bit of a co-founder.
Yeah.
And relaunching it with like her as the face of the brand. But so it's a little bit different than what Alex Cooper did with Unwell, because that was a whole, you know, obviously Alex Cooper partnered with Nestle and, you know, had the backing of Nestle behind Unwell.
Yeah.
But that was like a whole new, never before existing brand that she launched.
Yeah.
Whereas with the brand that Alex is launching tomorrow, it existed.
Yeah, I know. So So we'll see how it fares, right? Like we'll see how it fares.
I think it's super, I mean, with what there's a lot of Easter eggs. I'm not going to drop the name because Alex would love to work with you one day. So don't want to like piss anyone off. But we would love to work with you one day. But it's very, you know, Earle, she's still like young. She's super young. Yeah. She's younger than Alex Cooper. She's had that party girl persona.
Yeah. But it does make sense. Like for sure. It totally absolutely makes sense from like, and we talk about like brand and we talk about like authenticity and all of those things. I just wish I would have seen something a little bit different, something just like more innovative. You know, even like Unwell is not as innovative either. And people are losing their minds because Unwell, Alex Cooper partnered with Nestle, which, you know, but I want to take this one hot take before I talk about another launch, actually. You know what I think is really interesting is like, we're actually going to start seeing this a lot more in the creator economy. You see a lot of creators like starting something, right? It is absolutely hard. Like, and what's interesting is these creators don't really know, like they don't like, yes, they know content marketing and they know marketing perspectives, but like
they don't know formulating,
they don't know formulation, they don't know operation.
Sourcing.
You need a team, right? And so in order to be successful like that, yes, it costs a lot of money, but also to hodgepodge that together is a little bit hard, right? I mean, I lived it. Like we lived it at Feastables. Like granted, we had some baddies, okay? Like our old CEO, our ex-bar, old COO, our ex-bar, you know, baddies, okay? But
and it was still hard.
It was still really hard though. So my point is though, is I think what we'll start seeing, because we're seeing it with Alex Earle, we're seeing it with Alex Cooper, we're gonna start seeing it with even other people like Post Malone put out an Oreo. I think Lady Gaga put out something recently too with somebody else.
She has House Labs though too.
Oh, House Labs, that's right. Yeah. But we'll start seeing like more, I think, licensing in collaborations. And I also think that we'll start seeing like more of collaborations with the bigger product, like the Hershey's and the Nestle's of the world. And I hate to say it because it's like, it's in a way, it's like flipped everything back. You know?
So true. I mean, because even from fashion, like licensing, that was the name of the game back during the 2000s. But I'm excited to see. I think it's going to be a really interesting case study on the strategy with Alex Earle. Like, this was not a completely new brand. She's like relaunching it.
Yeah.
So I'm watching and I'm excited.
So speaking of another launch, I want to talk about one more. One of my friends, one of our clients. They're called Hornbulls Chornbulls. These are the homies. Also, specifically, it's a new high protein candy bar brand founded by the same guys as RX Bar. So Peter Rahal and Jared. And Jared's last name is escaping me. Jared Smith. Oh my God, I'm such a terrible person. So Peter Rahal and Jared Smith from RX Bar. It's the end of the day. This is why we call it after hours, okay? Anyway, what I find is really interesting about Hornbowls Turnbowls is that not only is it a high protein, but they're going to shake up the candy industry and like the chocolate candy industry at the same time. I mean, talk about the macros on it because you have the bar in front of you.
Okay, so it's only 100 calories which, for the whole bar.
Yeah.
We've got 6 grams of fat, only 10 grams of carbs, and 10 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And very simple. If these are their final ingredients, there's what, one, two, like one, like minimal ingredients in this. Oh no, wait, sorry. Those aren't the ingredients. I found them under here, but still
it's very minimal
for a candy bar.
Yeah. They're launching later this month. And the reason I'm also bringing it up is because they're also giving away 1,000 bars and it ends on March 17th, which is Monday. So go to hornbowlstorbles.com. It's a mouthful. hornbowlstorbles.com and enter the giveaway to get a free bar. And in the meantime, we're going to do a live taste testing of the cookies and cream. It's going to be like a little like ASMR moment. No.
Can you guys hear us? We're going to try this. Hornbowls crumbles now.
You said it wrong.
Hornbowls Chornbowls.
Cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Boop. This was fun. I love it.
It's got a good crunch to it.
I love the crunch. I'm not a big sweet person.
Like, me either.
And this is not, like, usually I go for like a bitter dark chocolate. And for this being like a cookies and cream, there's 0 grams of sugar. And it doesn't taste like sweet, and it doesn't taste like fake sugar either, which I hate. And a lot of like the 0 sugar stuff, like higher protein.
Get your Hornbowls Chornbowls. Yeah. Love.
Great job, guys. Hornbowls Chornbowls.
I appreciate everybody tuning in. We didn't get to half the things that we wanted to talk about.
No, this is how it always is when we hang out, though.
I know.
I love you.
But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Ali, tell the audience where they can find you if they want to connect. She's one of the smartest marketers I know. You must connect with her. Literally.
Like, it's a mirror because I'm saying that right back to you. So everyone here is probably already following Jess. You can find me on LinkedIn, Ali Rose VanOverbeke, and I'm also on all the other socials, so TikTok and Instagram at Ali Rose Van.
Great. Thanks, Ali, and we'll catch y'all next month on the next After Hours. Dang, we've made it to the end of the podcast and you're still here. So thank you so much for listening to Above the Fold podcast. For the best of this episode and every episode, be sure to follow us on Instagram and my YouTube channel. And for deeper dives on the secrets to brand success, don't forget to subscribe to my weekly newsletter, Sunday Postcards. All right, my dudes and gals, see you next week.